Good afternoon, everyone. It is now afternoon on a rainy Friday, but we are here and we are positive, and we're going to be talking about the housing market. So, what everyone's trying to figure out right now is now a good time to buy? Is now a good time to sell? We have a specialist coming on today. Her name is Rebecca Leuck. She's an associate broker with Realty Connect USA. And we're going to get some really interesting insight on what's happening with the Long Island economy, I guess, the housing market, and what we should be doing right now. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on Rebecca. Hey, Rebecca, how's it going?
Hi, Celia. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. So we're going to start out today's episode on a positive note. So I know before we get into everything, I know you wanted to have a moment to give a little shout out. So I'm going to let you do that, and then we'll get into everything.
Hi, everybody. So before I get started, and first and foremost, I hope everybody's safe and healthy. I want to thank all the frontliners, the nurses, the doctors, the janitors, people we don't notice, the truckers, the people who staff the food at the markets and put food on our table. I really want to thank the police officers and everybody out there doing their part. And also I want to give a big shout out to Celia. Yesterday was her birthday, so send her some love. Thanks.
Thank you. I had a nice day, so I appreciate that. Thank you so much. So for people who don't know, you have been around in my life for a very long time. I actually what was my title? Your assistant in high school?
Yes, you were my assistant. I mean, you did all my social media. You videotaped all my houses, took photos. I mean, you did everything. You were my right-hand person.
Yes, I was there. I knew how to use a camera
and a computer back in the day. I didn't.
Well, we had a lot of fun, and we're going to get a little further into that. But tell us a little bit about your background before we get into, the riveting topic of the real estate market.
Okay. So I've been doing real estate for over 20 years. I'm a licensed associate broker. I used to own real estate companies, and I am licensed in New York under Realty Connect USA. I'm also a realtor in Florida, so it's going to be wonderful to see different perspectives from different states today. And I love what I do. It's my passion, and I'm very blessed to say that every day I learn a new thing. Real estate is very challenging, and we'll speak about some of those challenges today.
I'm here, I promise. I'm just trying to share what we're doing out there so that people can hop in. Oh, we already have an amazing comment. So it says, Celia, you are currently interviewing the most ethical and determined realtor on Long Island.
Oh, wow. Well, I love what you do, and thank you for that. And no, I'm not related to that young lady.
So I before we get into everything, I just want you to kind of give us a little background as to what happened once coronavirus started coming out. All of the news, it went from a normal day at work to all hell breaking loose within 3 days. So what happened in the world of real estate at that time, and where are we kind of now?
Okay, so in the beginning, like everything else, it stopped. Real estate has been, as you know, or you might not know, it's just been amazing. We are on an upswing, and that day I remember clearly, like everybody else, no one knew what was going on, right? So everything froze. And we were considered, non-essential. So real estate market was frozen. And since then, we've been able to do some things. The governor has allowed us to virtually do some things. So the thing I hear a lot from people or economists saying that this is like a recession. That is not the case here. Okay, I speak to wonderful top producers all over the country. I'm very lucky to be on the panel at Realty Connect with amazing agents at the top. And, and we listen to a lot of different national speakers, and we're, kind of like soldiers on the ground for the real estate economy. And what this is really, they're saying is it's a V. So in 2008, the recession was like a U, right? So it just sank. And that was something that was created by men. It wasn't a sickness. It's like a U, right? So it goes like this and it flatlined for a long time. A lot of people didn't have jobs, and there was a great recession. This is different. This is more like simply a pause, okay? Because this was a sickness. And even though it's a pause, we are continuing on the front lines, right? We're not doctors, but we help the economy because we're helping people with one of their biggest investments, their homes. And in this market, some people do need to sell and some people do need to buy. And I am proud to say that we're still doing that. And I'm going to give you some raw numbers for Suffolk, Nassau, and Queens. I mean, from April 1st till I believe it was yesterday, the 23rd, there was about, I want to say over 1,000 homes, 1,800 homes on the, just listed currently. We also under contract, we had the same kind of numbers. And then for closing, which I find amazing, we had 2,030 approximately. I mean, that's still showing that there's, not as many houses selling, but it shows us that there's a pent-up buyer demand, there's a pent-up selling demand, and the market's going to be strong when we come back out. And, in the meantime, we are adapting to how to show houses in this current market.
So I know that one of the things that a lot of people in my age range are trying to figure out is this a good time for me to look into buying a house? I know I've had this kind of conversation with a bunch of my friends in their mid-20s, thinking about maybe because, the market is how it is right now, is it a good time?
Well, one of the things that I do when I sit down with everybody, I give a buyer's consultation and I explain how the market is perceived, because there's perception of the market and then there's actuality, what the market is doing. But right now what we're seeing is that buyers are out there, and yes, your age group is a large group of buyers now, all right? And my children are in that age group. And what I notice is that they're saying, now that they're getting an opportunity, they're exhausted from multiple offers prior to this market. And they're out there shopping thinking that, hey, we don't have to compete as much. And we don't have to, we don't have to fall in love with a house and wait to see if we're going to get it. So they're taking advantage of the fact that there's not as much competition to purchase. And the sellers are also putting the houses on the market. People always have to sell for different reasons, whether it's relocation of a job or downsizing, they already moved. So there's all types of reasons why a seller would want to take advantage of this market as well. And you can see that in the numbers because the houses are still listing, buyers are still buying, and we're still closing.
Got it. So, maybe it is time to, look around a little bit.
I'm ready to take you out.
Well, you said that if I go with anyone else, get me my first house, you'll be very disappointed. So I'll be sure to call you when I'm ready to do it.
All right.
We have a couple of comments here. My mom says hello. So
hi, Karen. I have to tell you, Karen, I mean, you know how I feel about Celia. She's amazing. She has a great drive, but she has, for anybody who doesn't know what she does, I will always give a reference for her, and her parents are attributed to that. They have been great, wonderful parents.
We have a couple more quick comments. We love Rebecca. She is by far one of the best agents in New York.
Wow, I have a fan club.
You have a fan club.
I love this show.
We have a couple of questions. So I know we're going to be jumping a little around on topics with these, but so tell us about the future of property taxes on Long Island. Will they be going up? What do you think? I know that you do not have a crystal ball in front of you, but
so, as long as we live on Long Island, things will always, taxes are something that I'm not a professional about. I would really consult, someone who is, but, if the taxes increase, that does show that our population is increasing. There's a lot of benefits to that. I know we don't see it as taxpayers. We get scared when we see them, but that provides for police departments, school districts, and yeah, they are high, but I believe that it's one of the best places to live.
I agree. I like it here. I don't plan on leaving. That's why I have my business here. So we have another question. Are closings going on in person, privately, or digitally?
Okay, so right now we don't go to the closings. Realtors, we're not allowed to do that, and it's for everybody's safety. So some attorneys are doing them via mail, digitally. They get their paperwork from the bank, the buyer, the seller signs, and at most closings, the sellers do not need to be at the closings anyway. So you'll see that there's a bank attorney and a title person, but they keep their social distancing, and a lot is done by mail and and conversation. So it brings us back to what's important.
So I know that the process has changed from coronavirus. So like normally everyone would sit down at the table and everyone would, sign the papers and do all this.
Yeah.
I know from the grapevine that things like DocuSign and things like that have been
Office
in
sign.
place, so that it'll be a little easier for all parties because, if I'm sitting here at my house and you're sitting there at your house, how am I supposed to sign a paper in front of you?
There are some agents, some of us who have already, think about it. It's no different than when I have a client out of state. I've had a buyer come from Venezuela. So there's always been challenges to the market, and you have to be aggressive and passionate about what you do and educate yourself and not be afraid, because it's our job to help the consumer understand that we are still in a good place. And whatever market we are shopping at, whatever market you put your house on, those people need to buy and sell. So it is our job to really kind of handle those emotions and let them know that we are up for the challenges and we are educated. And that's what our value really, really, people understand what realtors bring to the table.
So I have a question for you, because I know that this is something that, is true for each industry, because I know that you want to make sure that you work with someone that, gets you and is a good fit for you. So what would be a couple of good questions for people to ask a few realtors before they pick the one that they're going to use?
Right. So if we're talking about buyers,
yeah,
buyers first, I would, say I would like to know the whole process. I would want someone that's able to educate me through the process, regardless of what market we're in. How, what's your benefit to me in a way? How do you help me? Always, interview and find out what what their education is, what they bring to the table. How will you negotiate for me as opposed to ABC Realtor? And a lot of it is just, I had a mentor once who said, show me a good person and I can teach them how to be a great agent. And you always find your fit. It's like anything else. I always say it's like dating when I give a consultation, right? We're going to be together for a long time. So, I hope that you like me. And most important, they need to trust you. They need to trust that you know what you're doing in the industry. Rebecca, how am I going to see a house and put an offer in if I'm not physically there? I mean, right? That's what we're all there. That's a very big question popping up right now in the market. And there's many, many ways to do that. There's many platforms to do that. And I had a buyer say, well, hey, what if they trick me, right? Because they're going to say they're going to leave the best parts out. Like when we do, all right, on a date, we fix our hair, we don't eat so much. And it's kind of similar. So, they need to trust in you, because you're their advocate. And I hope that helps.
Definitely. So we have a question, and like I said, I know we're bouncing around topics, and we'll circle back around to what's happening in the local market, but this is actually an interesting question. What most important changes can a seller make to her house to make it more desirable for a buyer?
Well, I'm glad you speak to that, because sometimes when we live in a home, and I can use my house. I have 6 different colors, right? And it's an appreciation, because art is best judged by the person that buys it, right? We all have different taste. So, but when you go to sell the house, you want to make sure that those colors are neutral. to the palette. And so if I have reds and oranges, I don't, but let's say I did, maybe right now the colors as we speak are neutral, gray, light grays. But don't go ahead and paint your house prior to. I would suggest that you bring an agent in that you trust and that's educated in what's going to help bring the most money in for the money you're spending. So it's a return on investment, right? So if I spend $100 on a can of paint, is it worth it to you? Depending in every seller, it's a different situation.
That makes a lot of sense, because obviously every house is different and every house is going to have its own set of little qualities that you need to make a little more palatable to the buyer. So in addition to like paint, is there anything else? I know one of the biggest things for me as a photographer for going in is making sure the house is clean.
Yes, right. We want to make sure that it's clean, that it doesn't have any smells. I mean, sometimes I fry food, let's say. And yes, I know it's not that healthy, but I do. I love fried food. And that smell gets in everything, the curtains. So we want to make sure we air it out. It smells clean, but not perfumey, because people are allergic to those things. So you don't want to make it look like you're hiding something. You just want it to be like when you first take out your clothes and they smell fresh and clean. You want to make sure you open up some windows maybe, or, just little things, declutter. You hear that word a lot in our industry, right? Because I always say to my clients, my sellers, I said, look at it this way. Every time a buyer walks in, they're looking to see if it's worth the number you're asking for. And if they see something that doesn't please their eye, and it doesn't have to be perfect, because it might not be new construction, they're thinking, well, how much is that going to cost me to fix or change?
That's a good point, because obviously, like for someone like me, like I want to make sure the house that I move into, the first thing that I want is like a pretty up-to-date kitchen. So if I go in somewhere and I see like, maybe like needs a couple of backsplashes or this or that, like I'm going to have to sit there and be like, all right, so on top of what I'm paying already, how much do I need to spend to update this kitchen?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, Jacqueline is just like rolling out these questions today. She wants to know, do you suggest that people remove their shoes upon entering a home during an open house?
Well, that is a very difficult decision in this market right now. It's a whole new way to navigate, but that usually depends on the seller. And the only times that the seller really does that is when there is someone who's allergic to a lot of things, or someone with an immune issue. They can always suggest coverings. I do supply them if the seller does not have them. If that's, it would depend on the situation. Right now, shoe coverings, might be something we're going to look at and we're going to bring in, like gloves and masks.
That's a good point, because, you never know like what someone has walked through on their way to your house.
Correct. And they carry a lot of bacteria on the shoes. So, it's a preference from the seller. But we want to make sure that if you ask someone to take off your shoes, that your house is very clean and they don't pick up anything on their socks, because that could also work in the opposite direction.
Yeah, so it's just about like preference of who you're working with. So
right. Absolutely. And right now, we're going to visit those things, and there's always the shoe covers that you can simply get.
I gotcha. So let's circle back. So we're going to talk a little bit about the market, and I know that we have a couple of details about like the Nassau, Suffolk, and Queens listings that you wanted to share. And I also know that we have, I put them over in the thing on the side for you, if you see the little private chat over there.
Yeah, they're missing now.
Oh, well, then we can go off of the papers,
Yeah, no worries. I mean, I think I mentioned them very quickly. Listings taken, right? I have to make a correction on that. And this is like rough, quick numbers that I pulled up. There's like 1,200 that were taken since April 1st. Okay. So that's incredible. I mean, that shows that we're still moving, but that also reflects that there's not only going to be a pent up buyer demand, that there's going to be a pent up seller's demand. So we'll see more houses coming to the market, which, will it's like I said before, the real estate market is like paused. Usually this time it's spring, all the houses are on the market, and we're kind of spoiled by that. But that's okay, because it's still coming, and everyone is going to have the opportunity to purchase the home of their dreams, and sellers are going to be able to go on to the next destination. So, and then under contract is since April 1st. And that's a good sign, because it takes in New York about 14 days to get into contract. Now at the stage a little longer, right? Because we're doing everything via email and mail. About 1,800 homes went on contract. And that's a positive sign. So it's not just me coming up here and telling you, right? We're actually seeing these numbers on MLS. And then the thing that I really am excited about, homeowners and buyers are getting to move into these homes, even with these times. There's been 2,030 closings, and these are numbers in Nassau, Suffolk, and Queens. I mean, welcome home.
Such a good high number.
Yeah. And I think people are hesitant, but if you really have that need where you need to buy or sell, please don't hesitate. We'll navigate you through. We'll get you through. We'll get you home.
Yeah, and Regina says, great info.
Thank you.
So let's talk a little bit more about, obviously, like the inventory is moving. Let's talk a little bit more about the virtual tours and how people are actually seeing the listings right now. Because obviously you can't take a group of people into someone's home right now because,
open houses.
People are like home sick. You don't know if they're sick. So.
Right. So we have to protect everybody, right? So there's the open house tours where you have helped me on a lot of my marketing. So when I speak about open house tours and putting pictures together and showing the house with and putting in these special effects of what's highlighting the effects that are in that house, Celia is by far one of the best. So I have a two-step program, right? So they first find my beautiful photos and they see the virtual tour, and I'm, believe it or not, getting calls from it, and they're asking, well, how can I see more? Because on the virtual tours that we normally have are just certain rooms. Someone wants to see, you have a 5-bedroom house, but you're only featuring 2. We have a limited amount of space on MLS. So then we're doing Zooms and virtual tours and 360 virtual tours. And there's so many different platforms that we're using to navigate through this, where the homeowner may be there, and they're holding it and showing the house and walking around. And I, will be on the call as on the Zoom, and so will the buyer's agent, or if I'm bringing the buyer, the listing agent, and we're all working together to give the buyer the best experience they can possibly have. And that's, virtually how a lot of them have been doing it. And believe it or not, one of the buyers who purchased recently on a Zoom said they were just so excited that they didn't have to compete for the neighborhood they wanted. And, and it's an opportunity for them, and the seller is going on. It's just incredible. But the thing I love about real estate is that it's ever so changing. The market's always changed. You're always learning, and you're always just, handling the challenge.
Yeah. Do you think that this is going to be a new part of the industry, doing things like this, especially for people out of state, like you mentioned, to use these types of strategies to, get the information over?
As a realtor who's been in the business a long time, a lot of these things we've already used. You've been doing it for me for a long time. I think that it's going to, once again, educate us and raise the bar and set us aside for the realtors who really know how to handle it. You're going to need a lot of experience to navigate through these negotiations. But yeah, I think that it's also going to add a lot more tools. My husband is a retired police officer, and he used to have a tool belt, his gun, and all these things. That doesn't mean they needed to use it for every house, but I think it's going to be a valuable tool to add to us.
Gotcha. So, well, I think it's great that all of these new things are being incorporated. They may have been incorporated already, but not to the point where most agents are using them now. So
Correct.
I think that it's going to be good because you also can get that information out so that if someone who was on the fence about like, buying this house, selling this house, I guess buying in this case, sees the video and then sees, oh, I don't like this thing. You don't
Right.
have to bring them to the showing.
Right. So yeah, so it's going to eliminate people who are not serious about
Mhm.
the home, right? In some circumstances, but I do believe one thing is important to mention is that yes, these tools are going to help. Virtual tools are very important, but it comes down to real estate has been here for a long time because it's the realtors who put the deals together and work together with the clients and manage the expectations of everybody, and also keeps everybody on a time frame so that everybody on the team, whether it's the mortgage people, the lawyers, make sure that everything is running smoothly so that that seller or buyer can close on time. So it's just a tool to help us all get that done.
I gotcha. So we have another question. So it says, what are some things that you can look to upgrade in a smaller house to make it more appealing to, and then it's supposed to say to a buyer?
Okay, so that's a great question. My first house, by the way, was about 704 square feet. And so I love little houses. I mean, they're my faves. So, I mean, it all depends. When I go in and look at a house, I always want to take the market into consideration. What's the market? How much equity do you have in the home? So, so if you don't want to take on big projects, because it's always how much you're going to invest on fixing something. Is it worth it? Is it going to bring you much more value? So yes, kitchens and baths for the most part always bring value, but there are you want to make sure you set a budget for every market. And like I said, always bring in someone to give you that advice prior to doing those projects.
Awesome. I know that right now is a weird time for home projects because certain offices, like for permits and things like that, are not open. So people are being advised not to do them or to wait to get the permit. So just a little tidbit of advice from Glenn Jersey last week about that.
But there are, right. So if you need, you have townships that, you need certain permits for that, that is great advice, right? So you can't just, you need a permit for a pool and those kind of things. But if you're doing interior work, it's a great time for a project because we're all home and we can just check off. Like if you're saying, wow, I need to remove the clutter from that young lady, I think her name was Courtney, for her small house, you want to make it, make sure, furniture is not so oversized, but I'm not suggesting go out and buy some. There's ways to, and I think you and I, Celia, we did an episode once on how to manage with the furniture you already have in your home.
Yeah,
so
with
kind of projects, right? The paint projects. Right now, it's a great time to make sure your gutters are clean, right?
Always power wash or always things like little backsplashes in the kitchen.
And I think,
without needing like permits and stuff.
Correct. And I think there was a question of, what's important right now. And it's always like curb appeal. And this is planting season, right? It gets you outside. It gives you some kind of mental hygiene, right? Yeah. And you get to spruce out your house because the first impression is always the best. And when they pull up, they're already looking to see if this home is their home.
100%. I like how you phrase that part. They're looking to see if this home is their home. And that's ultimately at the end of the day what it's all about, finding someone their home. So these little projects might help, keep people like focused on that, which is
absolutely.
You have so many fans today. Rebecca Leuck is the best.
Oh, wow. Hi, guys.
And then Jennifer says, love your tips about quarantine projects. Thanks.
Thank you.
So you have so many adoring fans today. It's amazing.
Right? Maybe I will change my,
Your career is going to now be on screen talking about home projects. So
I'm better at real estate.
I mean, you could do both. I'm doing both. Okay. I'm on screen and I'm good at video, but
there we go.
So tell me a little bit about how you pivoted what you're doing right now in terms of working with clients, because I know that a lot of times you're in the same room with them, you're working with them, You're figuring out what needs to be in their dream house. What have you been doing now that we're home?
So I've always, I've started my career this way. I believe communication kind of helps with everything, right? So when I speak to my clients, and believe it or not, I sit down and I say, hey, this is going to be like a marriage, right? Because we're going to sign a contract and we're going to be committed to each other for a period of time. So the most important thing to me is that I communicate with my clients, that I, speak to them on a regular basis, because I believe that sometimes when you communicate, and although social media is great, texting is great, it's important to be in front of the client. And right now I can't do that in the way that I normally do that. But we do have, times where we speak on social, FaceTime or, Zoom and so many different platforms. So I keep in touch with my clients. I always have once a week at least. I'm always, I'm committed to. I watch the market, and I'm committed to change. So changing a little bit of what I do is, now it's. I've always I'm an old girl, so I've always been on the phone with them. I've always tried to get in front of them, and in front of them right now is the FaceTime and the social media, Zoom. Keeping them informed about what's going on, keeping them positive that the market is still moving. I don't want them, I have a client who already moved out of state and they need to sell their house, and their, fear paralyzes. Empowerment is when you see what's going on, you understand what's going on, and you find a way to work around it. So that's basically what I'm working with my clients. And my buyers are still getting emails from me and conversations about the houses they want to look at, and they're eliminating places, and we get more one-on-one time, because I'm not running around so much. I'm in one location, and I think staying in front of everybody, staying educated, going on different platforms with different people, the financial advisors and all the top producers from all over the country is important.
I think that it's really important that you said that you're still in front of your clients. You're still getting information out to your clients, because that's what I've been telling almost every day on this show. It's really important to be in front of your audience right now. So that's great that you're doing that. And I commend you for that, because I know in addition to all of your clients, you are still in touch with all of your past clients, and you keep a really good rapport with them.
And many of them are my fan base today. I believe Gina, who popped up, I sold her house maybe 12 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I'm just, and I love what I do because I truly care about my clients. I am person orientated, and every single one of my clients, their homes become my home. So I think that that's just where I shine. I love them all. It's important to me when I commit to them that I'm going to do a job, I'm going to get it done.
One of the things that I've been wanting to thank you for is you actually helped my grandmother get into a new home.
I love her. She's a hoot.
She's probably going to comment on this at some point.
I hope so.
She apparently watches these every day, which thank you for being a number one fan. But
absolutely.
When everything started going down, you gave her a call and you said, hey, if you need anything, let me know. And that meant a lot to my family. Like, if you need groceries, let me know. Yeah. And that just shows your dedication to your clients.
Yeah, I did. I started with my clients that are, most at risk. Mm-hmm. And I don't speak about that, that, Celia. So thanks for bringing it up. It's important to me that, even though you might be alone in your home, you're not alone. So anybody out there who may need something, please reach out to me. If I can't do it, I'll find someone who can.
Mm-hmm. And that's amazing, because I know, like, some people are stuck home. Some people live alone, like I do. I'm here and I'm just like, all right, like, let me stare at the ceiling for the next 3 hours. But but it's just really reassuring for everyone to know that they're not alone.
Yeah, everybody. And we all get there. We all have our moments, and part of the thing that I love is that my clients are so involved. I've been to their weddings, to their christenings, and they share, their confidential things with me, and that I take to heart. So thanks everybody for trusting me.
And I know that everyone on here is now getting a behind the scenes, how dedicated your clients are, especially if they look at the comments right now, which we do have a few more. So we have Rebecca is a fantastic agent and person from Jennifer. We have My mom said that you guys got to do dinner again when this is all over.
Absolutely. Looking forward to that.
And then Jennifer says, are you doing any virtual showings during quarantine? So we covered this a little bit, but
yeah, we are. We're doing virtual showings. I mean, I'm not at the house. I am, we're doing it through different platforms. There's a few on that platform, just like me and Celia are right now. We can share the screen, 6 more times? How many times, Celia?
I could have 6 people on here if I wanted to, but I also can, share like my personal screen. So anything that I have over here, I can show, and you have so many flexible programs to do these things.
Right. And, I give credit to the kids that helped me do this, because behind every great realtor, there's a great team. I want, Celia is incredible. She makes me look good, and Brandon and Alex and Samantha over at Realty Connect, they're a real young group. Nicole and Marjorie, they're the team that makes me look good, makes life easy for me. And I want to thank everybody at Realty Connect. Miss you guys.
Hopefully they're watching. Hey guys, I haven't seen you in like 5 years, but hello.
Yeah, it's a great group. It's a lot of fun, and you're only as good, as your team. So I'm excited and I'm grateful.
And you have even more praise in the comments right now. I have worked with Rebecca for many years. She's an outstanding, dedicated agent in person. I highly recommend her. Your testimonial section is now in my comments. You're gonna have to take all of these at the end and put them on your website.
You're gonna have to help me with that, Celia. Thanks. I love you too. Everybody's so great. I mean, if I knew this, I was really nervous. You know how I am about coming on, and I'm pretty private, and seeing all these comments really brings, it's heartfelt. So thank you everybody for all the kind words.
Yeah, it's so nice to see, because I know that I have worked with you, and I have worked with you on camera. You do not like to be on camera, so I really do appreciate you coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me. I do anything for you, Celia.
Oh, find me a house. No kidding.
We're gonna
soon. But let's talk a little bit more about what's going on in the market. What else have you been seeing, that people should be knowledgeable about?
Let's see. I mean,
I know that's a very broad question.
I mean, it's the things that if we're talking about first purchasing, going to the houses, showings, or we're talking about the deal itself, because real estate's very complicated, right? We make it look easy. I do anyway. But, so if we're talking about just looking at houses or putting your house on the market, just it hasn't changed in the sense that it's the same fears that the homeowners and the buyers have. It's their biggest, and just find someone who can help you answer all your questions. And also find that agent that's okay and not fearful of saying, hey, I don't have an answer for that question, but I'll get it for you. And then make sure that agent gets you that question. What I'm seeing is people are frightened, and our job is not to add to that. Our job is to help with that and put them at ease, because, we're all in this together and no one's alone, like you said.
Yeah, if anything, no one's alone right now, because, we're all going through this giant crazy thing called coronavirus, but everyone's going through it. It's not just you going through it. It's not just me going through it. So there's a huge community of people that just want to help each other right now. And especially with such a big purchase like a home. So this could potentially be the biggest purchase in someone's life. You want to make sure that you have the right person on your team that can get you the information and the resources that you need.
Yep, I think that it's important that you make sure that they're educated and they're your advocate, that they're really working, and we work, for commission. Everybody works to get paid, but I think that it's important to make sure that the person you're working with, it's not about that paycheck first. See, because with my clients, and this is my philosophy, if I take care of them and if I get them home or I get them to their new destination, wherever that is, that money will come. Most important to me is doing the right job, because, and I always say this to agents that I'm training or mentoring. I say, look, one homeowner that is happy will probably tell very few, unless of course you stay in contact with them and they'll refer you. But one homeowner or buyer that is angry, whether it's your fault or not, will tell the world. So it's very important to make sure that you treat your clients with respect and you give them that understanding, because they don't mean, they're just fearful in a normal market. And in this market is so just extreme. And I have faith in us humans. I have faith in us. So it's just, we're navigating together. We're learning, and I love to learn. And there's not a challenge or objection that I can't handle. And sometimes when it's about asking someone else, someone who does know. I don't know it all, but I'll figure out a way to help my client at any cost.
So I'm going to pivot our conversation just a little bit. I know that you have both licenses in New York and Florida. Have you seen the difference between how Florida and New York are handling everything right now?
Well, Florida just, kind of slowed down just recently. I mean, my office, I really focus in South Florida, and we just met. We do weekly Tuesday meetings, and the difference is, boy, do they have nicer weather. Obviously they're not as affected as we are. They are, still doing real estate. I mean, in Florida it's a little different because the realtor does, from the beginning of the deal to the end, with title. Very few attorneys are being used, are used in Florida. I see, we're a little bit more challenging because we have a lot more of this going on, but everybody's taking precautions. Everybody's getting, used to the new way, and I think, it doesn't matter what state you're in, but it really doesn't matter because we're all going through it, which is why I find it amazing. I mean, yeah, they don't have as many as we do, but one is one too many, and they're in good spirits. I think everybody's sharing and helping each other, and that's what I see not only in Florida but in New York. A lot of people helping each other out, and that just good for the soul.
Definitely. So let's take a couple steps back for people that aren't familiar with real estate at all. What would be the typical start to a buying process for someone that might be buying their first house, and they don't know who to reach out to, where to look, or anything that would be helpful?
I mean, basically, you have to find someone that you really trust. So the rule of thumb is the first question a realtor will ask you, are you pre-approved, right? So, and if not, don't worry about it, because and getting pre-approved doesn't mean you commit to anybody. That just means you know what your finances are and what you're comfortable with. And what I would say is, find out what you're comfortable with. And if you don't have anybody to help you with that, realtors always have people they can, refer. You're not, you don't need to use them, but I always say you can pick their brains, right? So you're going to want to make sure there's always two numbers, right? There's a number that you get pre-approved for, and then there's a number that you might feel comfortable with. So what's your comfort? That's what you need to know.
When you say pre-approved, what are you talking about?
Great question. So that means you speak to a loan officer, or and you go through your financials and you tell them, hey, this is what I think I can afford. And they go through your W-2s and they go through that information. And if you need any help with that, please, send me an email or a text. I can point you in the right direction to someone, and really feel comfortable. And because I think that sometimes, especially young buyers, they think they can only afford. I had a young buyer who said, I can only afford $150,000 house. And I said, okay. And I said, well, why don't you speak to, here's a couple loan officers, you don't have to use any, but, try to first time buyer. And to back it up a little bit, before I get to that step, what I usually do is I have a buyer consultation via Zoom right now or anything, and I kind of find out what their needs are. So I guess the most important thing would be, what are your needs? What is it that you're looking for in your home?
I know exactly what I need. So
that's where
people probably know right off the bat. So you probably get a lot of information real quick.
Yeah, start there. I think that you would find someone who, wants to know about your needs, and then go from there and get an education about what it is to buy a house from A to Z.
Gotcha. So if someone if someone, for instance, was starting the process with you and they know what they need, what things, let me rephrase, if they're starting the process with you and they know what they need in a house, what is a resource or what do they need to bring to the table? Like you mentioned getting pre-approved.
Correct.
You mentioned you mentioned the part about the loans, but what else should someone keep in mind when they are ready to actually embark on this journey?
Okay, so one thing I always say that buying is a process of elimination, right? Right?
Mhm.
You're gonna look at different neighborhoods, you're gonna look at different houses, you're gonna see if that works for you.
Mhm.
So what I always tell them is I want you to tell me what you want in your house. I want two columns, right? I want a plus and a negative. I want
Mhm.
absolutely need, and then I want a wish list.
Mhm.
And then, because sometimes most of the time, unless you're building a new construction, not every house is going to have exactly everything you need. So we're going to have a checkbox that what's important. Like if you definitely need 3 bedrooms, you probably need a bathroom. Everybody needs a bathroom, right?
That would be helpful.
Right. But can you give up 2-car garage to 1-car garage? So what is it? Do you need a fireplace or would you like a fireplace? Right? Because
Gotcha.
so, and that's where I'd start them with thinking, and then we get a pre-approval. And then I put them on a search. It's a direct link from me to them so that it kind of caters to what their wants and needs are. And then they can go in there and change it as needed.
Mhm.
And usually what I notice in the beginning, what most people think they need, they kind of like, I'm going to use your word, pivot to something else. So it's really a great experience for them. And it keeps me on my toes and always listening. I think a good listener is what you need.
A good listener in any field is very valuable. So I agree. And this process probably allows the clients of yours to learn a lot about themselves in the process.
Absolutely. And, to me, they always have control. I'm here to educate them and give them advice. But at the end of the day, they're the boss and it's their house.
100%. So we're going to pivot again. So let's talk a little bit about the selling process. What if someone wants to start the selling process, do they need to start reaching out to do?
Okay, so it's kind of a little simpler when, for me, when you're trying, what you need when you're selling your house is to call Rebecca Leuck, and it would be the most important thing, right?
Mhm.
And all kidding aside, they would want to make sure that they have all their paperwork, their COs, their deeds, their current tax bill, but it's not necessary.
Mhm.
Just little things. When I sit down now, I do it on Zoom. I ask a whole bunch of questions to see what it is that to kind of help them along the process. So I have all these systems in place that will help a buyer go from point A to point Z, or a seller, from their home now to the new destination. So there's systems that are in place to help them and aid them and, kind of work through that challenge with them.
Gotcha. I think the biggest question that you probably get is, how much is my house worth? How much can I get from my house? How did, like, you don't have to go super in depth, but how does one get an appraisal on their house?
Okay, so an appraisal is done by a licensed appraiser, right?
Mhm.
What they really want to know is what their current home market value is. And that's what realtors do. We assess their home depending on condition, right? And other things we take into account. And then we use comparables, just like that of an appraiser that we get from MLS. And we compare it and kind of educate the homeowner on the solds, just like we spoke about a little briefly about the under contracts, right? Because solds are about our histories. Sold is, what the market did prior. Under contract is what's the market doing now. And then, then we have the houses on the market. What are people coming out at? And, one of the questions that I always ask my clients are, where on that list of homes that are on the market, where is your competitive edge? So, every house is different. Every house, there's not a cookie cutter marketing plan for every house, and every homeowner has different needs. So those needs are going to determine where they come out to market.
Makes a lot of sense. Every house is different. You can't say I have a 4-bedroom house. How much is this worth?
Correct.
Obviously, you need someone to come in and take a look.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys need an appraisal, reach out to Rebecca and she'll have someone come.
Market evaluation, right? Appraisers are done by licensed appraisers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's usually done later on in the process. And I'll help you through that as well.
So I know I'm just throwing out questions. I think that they're good questions, but I'm throwing out questions.
They're keeping me, on the hot seat.
Toes. So what are a couple things that people that are doing for sale by owner should know about, possibly thinking about working with an agent?
I understand trying to sell your house on the market itself. There's different reasons they try and sell their house by themselves. The challenge is not in putting a for sale sign up. And, I always say that, it's about usually saving commission, right? But no, the buyers who look for sale by owner are also trying to save that. So no two people can save that. And the other thing, it's proven on, by sales and stats that on MLS, the homeowner always, it outproduces and homeowners are able to get more money that way because you don't lose money just on placing a sign. There's a lot of, aspects to the sale process, right? There's an appraiser who works for the buyer. And there's a buyer's agent who comes in, a home inspection who comes in. Sometimes we have title issues that take away from the price of a house. If your house, you can't close in time. There's so many different factors that factor into selling a house. But, so I guess, if anything, just sit down with an educated realtor and pick their brain, because we're here to protect you and take care of you and get you the most amount of money in your pocket.
So obviously education and communication are key in the process. So, if I went and turned around and said, I'm going to sell my house right now, yeah, the advertising is going to look great. But once we have to sit down with a potential buyer, I'm going to be like,
well, everybody thinks, oh, well, my attorney will handle it. But and that may be the case, may not be the case. I don't know their attorney. I just know that things come up that aren't handled or are not in their wheelhouse. So it's very important to get from, I always said, from your home to your, next destination. And we provide all those systems and we bring all those tools to the table so that we can help you get there in a timely fashion with the most amount of money, that you can possibly get out of the market.
Gotcha. I have one last question for you. Are you ready?
Oh, here it comes.
So why is a realtor a really good resource or connection for not only real estate, but like just connections in other industries and connections with, oh, I need a plumber, or what is the really good restaurant by the house that I'm looking for? Why is a realtor that person that can bring all of that information to the table?
That's a great question. I guess we would say that we're really into, we are right in the community. We work and live in the places that we sell, and we're really committed. There's so many things right now going on. For instance, right off the top of my head, Heritage Park is doing a food drive, right? So I'm a local realtor and I know that. And then, there's a restaurant right up the road from me, Alejandro's, that's doing takeout, and we have a list of people that we have been doing business with, that we come in contact with, for clients and through the process of selling a house. So I just had, for example, my homeowners are out of state. They're in Florida and they have a condo here in Long Island, and they had a little gas issue with the dryer and they didn't know anybody. So I called all my plumbers and had someone come out and fix, the challenge they had. And if I didn't know, so I guess that's what it is. We're constantly meeting people, networking with different, people of all different industries, and some of them are our clients. And because we do a good job, because we're trustworthy, I have great relationships with these people who will come, at a minute's notice. And I guess that's why with a hub, if you want to use a word for a lot of that.
You hit the nail on the head of where I wanted you to go with that. But yeah, no, I definitely and like someone like me as well. I meet a lot of people. I work with different businesses. If you ask me for like, a financial planner or, a lawyer or someone that's with digital marketing, I would be like, oh, I know exactly who to send you to. And I know that you as a real estate professional, like you have to meet a lot of these people. And that's why, it's really good to, work with someone that is well connected.
Absolutely agreed. And that takes, experience and time to build up and the thing is that, a lot of they trust me. So it's important when I give a referral that that person is trustworthy. And I think that a lot of clients know that if I'm going to give a referral, that is the underlying effect, that you'll get someone who's, trustworthy in your home. And everybody wants to be safe. Look, we're all home. It's our safe harbor.
Definitely. So Rebecca, is there anything else that you would like to add about, real estate in general or what's going on in the industry, or else we will start to wrap up?
We covered basically pretty much anything. If I left anything out, please feel free, and all joking aside, feel free to reach out to me, email me through via, Facebook, Instagram, I'm everywhere. And I will answer your questions as best as possible. Just more importantly, stay safe out there, be well, and looking forward to seeing you at your next destination.
Awesome. So we have one more comment. I've gone to Rebecca for many referrals and they've always been trustworthy. So that is a testament to your really, really amazing network of people.
Yeah, and most importantly, thank you guys for all the support and everybody who came on to spend some important, time is valuable, and spend valuable time with us. So thank you.
Yes, definitely. I really appreciate all the comments today. This is amazing. I think we have 20 comments. That's amazing. But Rebecca, for people that don't know, how can people get a hold of you? I have your links in the description, but what's the best way to get a hold of you?
You can get a hold of me by cell. You can text me. You can reach me at Realty Connect. I'm Rebecca Leuck, at or Instagram at Rebecca Leuck, Facebook Team Leuck. I mean, you can reach me on my cell phone. It's, Celia can put it up later. I'm looking forward. Like I said, I'm licensed here at Realty Connect. Feel free to give us a call.
Awesome. So I'm going to pull you down off of here so I can close up the show.
Okay.
Stay on the stream program so I can thank you in private.
Thank you so much, Celia. Bye, guys.
All right. So thank you so much to everyone who attended today's episode. We had so many amazing comments, and I think we got some really valuable information about both the process of, buying or selling your house and what's kind of going on in the industry right now. I'm really happy to hear that there's so much activity, especially because I have so many friends that, are either in the market to buy a house or work in the real estate market. So thank you again to Rebecca for sharing your insights and, getting over some camera shyness to come and hang out with me today. So if you guys want to rewatch this whole live from the beginning, if you turned in late, it's going to be on my Facebook page, on YouTube, on SoundCloud, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. I have now gotten the trifecta. What's more than trifecta? It's more than 3, but doesn't matter. I'm on all of those different platforms. And if you are looking for information on different professionals, different topics, we are doing these live streams every day. This is episode number 27 of doing this show. So if you need anything from personal fitness to lawyers to video game specialists, check out some of our older episodes and be sure to give my page a like. We are doing this every day to make sure that we have a platform for all of our professionals and small business owners to get their information out there and hopefully help all you guys with all the information. So thanks again for coming on here today and watching our episode, and I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Bye.